This week I had a chance to meet a man called Rod Dreher. He's an American, an author of a book called The Benedict Option, a famous book, which came out in 2017. It's been called the most discussed and the most important religious book of the decade. He argues that the churches in America have been hollowed out by the departure of young people, also by an insipid pseudo-Christianity, and they need to construct a resilient counterculture. This is his Benedict Option, named after St Benedict, who was the founder of European monasticism in the first Dark Age, at the end of the Roman Empire. This Benedict Option expresses itself within institutions, churches, schools, other organizations, whose purpose is to keep real Christianity alive in the hearts and minds of believers, living as exiles in an ever more hostile culture. These must be institutions that fulfill the American novelist Flannery O'Connor's saying that you have to push back as hard against the world as the world pushes against you. Dreher believes that we need to teach ourselves and our children to desire truth, goodness, beauty, as preserved in our Christian tradition, and to make that pursuit the focus of our moral imagination, our imagination of how to live well, how to be good. This isn't a lofty ideal for him. It's a matter of intense practical urgency. He gave me an example of what he means. People have been moving out of local cities to the town where he lives for the past 20 years because the state school system there is one of the best in Louisiana, where he comes from. But a family he knows pulled their children out of that school, a school that's really good, and began homeschooling them. Not because the school is education deficient, but because of this. The friends of their oldest son, then in year 6, were watching pornography on their smartphones. Now, this wasn't the school's fault. The kids weren't doing it during school hours. But they did think it was the fault of the community of parents that was not willing to push back, that was willing to give children that age a smartphone, which is like giving them a library of pornography. Dreher compared these parents, in quite a shocking image, to the diseased and dying rabbit in Philip Larkin's poem Myxomatosis. Philip Larkin writes about this rabbit: "You may have thought things would come right again if you could only keep quite still and wait." For Dreher, there are no safe spaces to raise Christian kids in America other than the countercultural places Christians make for themselves together. He believes that if we do not form our consciousness and the consciences of our children to be distinctly Christian and distinctly countercultural, even if that means some degree of intentional separation from the mainstream, we are not going to survive as Christians. St Mary Magdalene Church will not survive. So the primary focus of Christians in America, our primary focus perhaps, should be the countercultural building of institutions and habits that will carry the faith and the faithful forward through a new dark age. Last week saw the London School of Economics, one of the great universities of London, changing the names of its terms and holidays to eliminate, cancel any reference to Christianity. So Easter break is spring break, Christmas break is winter break. Last week also saw the release of an explicit music video of a song for a new album, and it upset parents. I saw in the paper. They want to protect their children from pornography, that's available on YouTube without restrictions. Fans, however, describe the video as empowering and dismiss these parents as bigots. In December, not long ago, a woman was arrested for silently praying across the road from an abortion clinic. Thought crime. She didn't do anything. It was what was happening in her head was a crime. Our culture does seem to be becoming more and more hostile for Christians. Not just neutral. If church was a bit less boring, people would all flood back. It's hostile. Jesus says, "They've hated me, they will hate you." Have you heard that? Do you know what that means? And the Church of England, of course, is approaching what's being called a demographic cliff. Only 2% of young adults who identified as C of E in 2018, 2%. 2%. In this context, new ideas are needed. And Rod Dreher in the Benedict Option seemed to offer them.